This is what being a NASCAR fan is all about. Singular history and tradition.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out. This is so special.
Unmatched on-track intensity.
We gotta go.
And triple-header playoffs action to ratchet up the stakes. Throw in a can't-miss concert, camping, and the legendary atmosphere of Talladega Boulevard. And you've got more than a race. You've got Talladega. Get your tickets now at TalladagaSuperspeedway.com.
Roll Tide and welcome to this Tuesday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. This is Roger Hoover. Great to be with you from our studios here in Tuscaloosa, where we're still buzzing about Alabama's win against Georgia this past Saturday. A thrilling night at Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium, and Alabama is now #1 in the country. We will take a look at everything coming up on our show today, as we always do, thanks to our friends at RJ Young. RJ Young is the official technology solutions provider of Crimson Drive. They've given us a smart board to go through everything in a real interactive way on the show, and especially with our headlines. First things first, we'll visit with a member of the Crimson Tide football team as Kevin Riley joins us at our podcast studio for a one-on-one conversation, freshman running back for the Crimson Tide. Then we'll take a look back to our booth cam highlights, and there were plenty of them from Alabama's thrilling win against Georgia. Chris Stewart on the call for all those highlights. He'll join us to preview Hey Coach and look ahead to what's coming up between Alabama and Vanderbilt on Saturday. Then we'll have our Alabama Legends segment as we'll visit with Preston Dial, former Crimson Tide tight end. He lives in the Nashville area, so he'll give us the lay of the land as Alabama gets ready to make that road trip to Vanderbilt coming up this week. Then last but not least, we'll take a look back to last night's very fun edition of Crimson Tide Rewind at Baumhauer's in Vestavia Hills. Corey Reamer and I will break down the Alabama-Georgia game and again look ahead to Vandy. That's all coming up on Be Kind Crimson Tide Rewind. How about this Crimson Tide football team? A win against Georgia, 41-34. Alabama only trailed for 17 seconds in the ball game. What a thrilling win. And the two key players of that victory, Jalen Milroe, Ryan Williams, recognized by the SEC office as you see Jalen Milroe, the offensive player of the week, and Ryan Williams, the SEC freshman of the week. Great to see that for those two as Alabama picks up the #1 ranking in the AP poll after that great win against Georgia. Again, the Crimson Tide now 4-0 on the season, 1-0 in the SEC, moving on to take on Vanderbilt this Saturday. Soccer team continues to earn points in the SEC standings. Once again, it was a draw for Wes Hart's team this past Sunday at Georgia. 2-2 was the final score. Soccer team will be back at home coming up this week to take on Kentucky at 7 p.m. in Tuscaloosa on Friday night. Meanwhile, the volleyball team had a hard-fought match against Auburn, ultimately fell on Sunday 3-1. Now coming up this Sunday, no game coming up during the midweek, but they will be home against Georgia. We keep seeing the Bulldogs in all sports, and it will be Alabama against Georgia in volleyball coming up on Sunday at 2 p.m. I want to take a look at what's coming up here in Tuscaloosa for our Champions Lane concert series. Alabama, of course, on the road this week, but coming up when the Crimson Tide are at home, Jake Matthew will perform, getting you ready for the Alabama-South Carolina game coming up on the morning of October 12th. And don't forget Easton Corbin getting ready for the Missouri game as well. And then another performance by Jake Matthew for the Iron Bowl Smith Distillery, who had a great show before the USF game. They'll be along for the Mercer game as well on October 16th. And somebody over there, Lauren Elena, we've been heard to you on this Champions Lane concert series slide all throughout the season, getting ready for her concert against Georgia, and that concert was a smashing hit. You see the enthusiastic crowd there at Vector Security Champions Lane, right in front of the Legends Lounge Beer Garden, and of course Bryant-Denny Stadium. Lauren Elena had so much fun doing this concert. You see the fans really enjoying it again. We had a packed house not only in the stadium for the game, but outside as well. And how about on the turnstiles? Everybody turned and watching. Once they were already in Bryant-Denny Stadium watching the concert we had at Vector Security Champions Lane. Lauren Elena was fun as well during the ball game, got recognized on the video board at Bryant-Denny, and started the crowd in Dixieland Delight. What a thrilling night. We really had a fun time with Lauren Elena in town. And don't forget Easton Corbin coming up on October 26th along with Jake Matthew and Smith Distillery. Great performances to come. More details coming up at championslane.com. Hopefully a future champion for the Crimson Tide football team is freshman Kevin Riley, who of course is from here locally in Northport, just outside of Tuscaloosa, and now he's getting to live out his dream playing football for the Crimson Tide and being part of one of the best running back rooms in the entire nation. He joins us for a one-on-one conversation this week on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Roll Tide and welcome back to Bryant-Denny Stadium. We're inside the Advantage Center at our podcast studios. I'm Roger Hoover. Now, please be joined by Alabama running back Kevin Riley. And Kevin, Roll Tide, how's everything going in your first year with us here in Tuscaloosa?
Thank you. I want to first off thank you for having me on here. And everything's going good, for the experience of me being a freshman, getting to experience those home games with those huge fan bases. It's just electric. And, it's awesome getting to actually say that I'm at the University of Alabama playing football here. It means a lot. As you can see from fans and everyone in the state of Alabama, football is everything down here.
It really is, and for us, it's kind of rare to get to talk to somebody like you that grew up literally, here in town, in Tuscaloosa, Northport area. Have you always been a huge Alabama fan?
I wouldn't say I was a huge Bama fan growing up. It was kind of like I always just had favorite players growing up, like from East College team. But as of me standing in Tuscaloosa and being a Tuscaloosa kid, I would say, like, as the years came, I started to look at Alabama a lot more, and they became a huge team in my mind.
So who were some of those early favorite players you had?
Early favorite players, I love watching Derrick Henry, of course, Tua, Devontae Smith. There's a lot of players that was great and legendary that came through Bama that really stood out to me and brought to my attention.
Do you remember the first game you went to here as a fan?
First game I went to here as a fan, I think it was in 2014. I want to say I honestly forgot who we played, but I think it was in like 2014. It was like my first ever game.
That's pretty special to get to experience it as a fan throughout the last few years, and then the opportunity to suit up and play for the Crimson Tide is really remarkable. Just tell us a little bit about your athletic journey. What other sports did you play? When did football kind of went out for you?
Yes, sir. So as a kid, I was out with any sport, like dealing with the ball. I was always hands-on and great at it. So, I played multiple sports. I was a multiple sport athlete. I played baseball when I was younger, soccer, football, basketball. And I stopped playing those soccer and baseball. Those are kind of when I was like, I want to say elementary school, middle school kind of. And then I started getting into football around my 8th grade year of middle school. And that's when I kind of started taking football more seriously.
Were you running back even back then?
Yes, sir. Well, I would say I started off playing quarterback. I played quarterback in middle school, 9th grade year. My freshman year is when I first played running back, and then I got moved up to varsity, like the 4th game. Been playing running back since then.
Still have a pretty good arm, though. If they needed you, you can use a trick play or something like that?
They got me. They know I'm going to dot some players up. They know how I got them.
That's pretty good. So you play here locally for County High. What were some of your best moments in a County High uniform?
Some of the best moments, I could say scoring the game when the touchdown against Oak Mountain. That was our homecoming, too, so that was extreme. It was last play of the game. Coach brought me in on the Wildcat play, put me in at QB. Crazy part about that play, I thought it was over because, like, once the center snapped the ball, it went above my head, and I had to, like, jump and reach for it. But once I got it in there. It was a great game. And we upset a lot of teams that year because a lot of people had their heads down on us, thought we really wasn't going to make it far, and we proved a lot of people wrong that year. And that was my junior year in high school, I see. So, yeah.
Had the recruiting process begun by that point?
Oh, yes, sir. I want to say probably around my 3rd or 4th game in that season is when my recruitment started to evaluate and become big. It's when, like, people started mentioning me on Twitter, posting videos on Twitter, like game clips and everything, and that's kind of when I started, people kind of brought more attention to it.
Did you enjoy all the attention that's starting to hear from all these coaches from all across the country?
Yes, sir, I did. Like I said, the recruitment process, it was enjoyable. I did enjoy it. It's a one-in-a-lifetime thing, so everyone has to enjoy it. You only get that one time. It's a one-time-in-a-lifetime thing, so, yeah. And it was great. It was amazing. That's what I can say.
Were you thinking about Alabama as you're starting to hear from all these other different schools and places, or where did Alabama kind of factor in for you?
In the recruitment process, I was talking to a lot of schools, and really it was just building up those connections at first. And I was committed to Miami, and I was with Miami for a good bit. I was with them for a couple months. Wouldn't say a full year, but it was close to a full year of me being committed to them. Bama, they started coming in towards the end of the picture. Is when we started, like, doing official visits and, like, really when the big games came in and, like, the big events came around in Tuscaloosa is when they really started evaluating more and becoming more in the picture.
What impressed you the most when you got to take a tour of the Mount Moore facility, Bryant-Denny Stadium areas you'd seen before, I'm sure, on, cell phone or different things like that, TV, but when you actually got to be there, what impressed you?
What really impressed me is just seeing all the trophies in their trophy room. And another thing that stood out to me is everyone on their staff. Like walking through the building, each room, like a staff member, they're gonna make you feel welcome. They're gonna make you feel like you're the president. Walking through there, like they make you feel like Nick Saban. So like everyone is nice. I mean, even the weight room is unbelievable. They got new weight racks, new weights, everything is labeled with Alabama A. I mean, everything stood out to me in that facility.
That's really good. Did the retirement of Coach Saban affect your recruitment at all and getting to know Coach DeBoer and his staff?
So when I got the news that Nick Saban retired, it kind of shocked me because it was like a week or two later we had one on an official. Earlier we had one on an official visit, and it was kind of like he didn't mention it or kind of give us a hint or anything, so we wasn't expecting it. So it caught us by surprise. I was a little worried, kind of going into it and like what's gonna happen, who's gonna come in, and how things are gonna change. But something told me to just trust the process. And once I heard that Coach DeBoer was coming in, I was like, I feel like we're going to be good. So I trusted the process, and we're doing great now.
When did you get to meet him?
I got to meet him, I want to say, the first day of practice. I want to say because I didn't move in the exact day. Everyone else moved in the summer. I moved in like 2-3 days later. First day of practice, I would say.
And how important was as well your decision to sign with Alabama Coach Gillespie and the fact that he stayed from the Saban staff to this staff?
It was important to me because of me building up that relationship with him. I know there was a couple coaches on the staff that did leave after Nick Saban retired, and what stood out to me about it was that like Coach G, he kept it real with me from the jump. You know what I'm saying? He didn't really show me two sides of the story, two sides of what's going on. He kind of set one point in and told me what it was from the jump, and I respect that. So.
And then how does he, now that you're part of the team, how does he lead you guys in that running back room?
Coach Gillespie, he coaches us hard, but everyone in the running back room respects him because we all know that he's been to the level we're on, and he knows what it takes to get there, to the next level. So everyone in the room respects him. He can coach us hard at times, be a little overwhelming, but at the end of the day, we know that he just does it to get us better.
How was signing day for you? How special was that?
Signing day was crazy. It was shocking because a lot of people wasn't expecting it, but had to make the best decision for myself at the end of the day. But it was a good day. A lot of family came in town that day. Got to see a lot of friends.
How'd you have the table set up? How many hats or anything?
I'm gonna be honest. I only had one hat on the table. Yeah, I didn't play a trick game. I didn't want it to be that type of signing day, so I just made everything simple, sweet.
That's certainly good. So you make that decision. You get to work here in the summertime, and I'm getting ready for fall camp. What impressed you the most about, or what was, I guess, the most difficult transition of going from being an elite high school football player to now all of a sudden you're one of many elite players that are all trying to get on the field for the Crimson Tide? Really,
a big change that I seen or felt was that, coming from high school, you get to do what you want basically on the field, like, because you're the only best player out there. Not saying I was the only best player out there because, like, I'm a humble person. Like, we had a lot of good people on our high school team. But transitioning from that to college is you're competing with people that's on the same skill level as you every single day. And the coaches, they're going to coach you harder. They're going to make sure you do stuff at a faster pace, faster tempo. So it's just the transition from high school. It's just everything's just faster pace. You're more disciplined. And that's what I can say. You got to learn to be more disciplined. A lot of new techniques that I learned from college to high school, and it's just a huge change all around.
I think everybody, when they think about running backs and the work they got to do to get on the field, all they think about is just running plays and being a ball carrier. How much of an emphasis is there in blocking for you?
We talk about blocking every day. Blocking is like one of our main topics. And one of the things our Coach Gillespie always tells us is that in order for us to have a big run, you got to have a big blocking play. Like, blocking comes big runs. So, like, even in meetings, at practice, we always go over blockings. Even if we got a little short period of time, we'll go over some sort of technique, watch a couple clips of blocking, and where to be on certain plays and blocking. So, I mean, blocking is a huge thing when it comes to playing running back. It's not just about running because you have to protect the QB at all times. And one of the things about being a running back, being a great running back is being a great eraser. You know what I'm saying? So
That's certainly a huge part of it. Fans have gotten to see a lot of Jam Miller, Justice Haynes on the field. You get to see them not only on the practice field, behind the scenes as well. What kind of work are they doing to make sure they're good to go and at their best on Saturday?
Jam Miller and Justice Haynes, they're great people, great running backs. I look up to those guys at practice. They work very hard. You know, when Justice is not in and Jam is in, you look to the side, you see Justice working on his cuts, going down the field, doing spin moves, just things to stay active. When Justice is in and Jam is out, you see Jam asking questions, seeing what's going on. So I say both of them are really dialed into what they're doing, and their work ethic is amazing. Like, they compete each and every day. They help out if needed. And since I'm a younger guy, they make sure to always help. If I'm having trouble with something, they don't hesitate to help me, hesitate to correct me. And that's why I respect those guys, as being older guys and people I look up to in the running back room.
And they've certainly helped you guys out as well, not just you, but also you look at what Richard Young's been able to do, and then Hill as well. I mean, you guys got some opportunities to play, starting with the Western Kentucky game. How special was it? I mean, that had to be a little bit of an overwhelming day, your first day in uniform for the Tide, and then you get to play.
Well, I can't say that day. It was exciting. It was exciting for multiple people. That day, it was actually my mom's birthday, that game. So getting on the first game, getting to get in on my mom's birthday, it meant a lot. Actually getting to feel what it feels like to step on the field for the first time and carry the ball in your hands, rush for a couple yards, something like you wouldn't think of, like you'll be there. Like, it happens so quick, it comes, but it's amazing though, like, for that experience, and I'm only working to get on the field more because, like, that feeling is amazing. It
really is, and the vibe in the stadium is so cool, and then you had the love as well, what we just saw this past Saturday against Georgia. The crowd was electric.
It was. Walking into the tunnel, you can just feel the stadium rumbling, feel the field shaking. And once you run out, look around, it's electric. Like, lights are out, everyone. All you see is crimson, red, and white. Not too many just red and black. But nah, that atmosphere was wild. Like, I feel like every seat in that stadium was filled up. And
then how about the post-game celebration as well? How electric was that locker room after the game?
Oh, after the game, it was wild. Everyone, even before the game, the mindset of going into the game was, hey, we're not backing down. We're finna let them know Bama is the standard. So everyone's mindset going into the game was, hey, we're finna go out there, give it all we got, work as a team. And once we came out with that dub, got back in the locker room, we knew to ourselves that Bama hasn't changed. We're still the standard. We knew that whole week at practice what we were gonna do. We knew the game plan. We knew how we were gonna come and react to adversity. We knew how we was going to come out and start the game. So after the game, it was just excitement. Everyone was proud, no disappointment.
It's really exciting to see that. And then for you guys as well, you know that it's just another game, a long part of this journey for this football team. And the very next step in the journey is coming up Saturday in Nashville against Vanderbilt. How did the Sunday practice help refocus you guys for next week?
Sunday practices, it helped us refocus. It's more, our Sunday practices is more of just focusing on just correcting things, So it's more of like dialed in plays and more of not really getting into like our new stuff yet, but just more dialed in things and just getting back in the groove from our last game, kind of just getting loose basically.
So for you, what's going to be your point of emphasis over the next few weeks, continuing to help this football team and continuing to grow as a football player?
Really, as a younger guy, I'm going to be helping out the team a lot, especially the older guys that are going to be in on the field more, seeing things that they probably don't see. And when they get back on the sideline, letting them know what I see, helping them when they're messing up on any type of drills or anything. Just being one of those younger guys that always come in and let them know what they need help on or need to fix on that they don't see that I see.
Well, you're off to a good start. Kevin Riley, thank you so much for the time you've given us here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Best of luck. We'll look forward to seeing you on the field again soon. Roll Tide.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Roll Tide.
Time is running out to secure your seat at NASCAR's biggest and baddest track. This weekend, the NASCAR playoffs will make their long-awaited return to Talladega Superspeedway, where the only thing bigger than the action on the track is the unrivaled fan experience. Don't miss out on a 3-race weekend full of playoffs action that will have you on the edge of your seat all race long. Create memories with your family that will last a lifetime, and lock in your seats today at the Yellowwood 500 at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com. Look forward to seeing many great memories ahead for Kevin Riley. Appreciate him joining us this week on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. As always, on Tuesday on Crimson Drive, we take a look back to the previous ball game by showing you the booth cam highlights from the Yay Alabama booth cam. It's always streaming live during each and every Alabama football game. We had so many views live during the ball game this past Saturday, and of course, the replay of some of the huge moments can be found on our social media platforms, and those have been buzzing all throughout the last few days as well, throughout all of our social media platforms. So we wanted to make sure you saw all the booth cam highlights, again presented by Yay Alabama, from a thrilling night in Tuscaloosa as Alabama beats Georgia.
A lot of barking. We'll find out in the next 60 minutes who's got the most bites as this one is underway, and it will be fielded at the 5 and returned by Law, 15-20 across the 25. Still on his feet and brought down across the 35-yard line. 2 wideouts right, 3 left, leaving an empty backfield for Milroe. Waiting on the snap as Dupree will come in tight to the left side. It's just a quarterback keep. Sweep left side, wide open, touchdown. Jalen Milroe walked into the end zone from 8 yards out. Tyler Booker running interference. Touchdown, Alabama. Well, they asked if the Tide could sustain a drive. You got your answer right there. 3 wideouts left. Again, an empty set. Now here comes Miller to join his quarterback in the backfield. Nope, he's just faking. They'll swing it to him out of the backfield. A wheel route, catch is made. Touchdown, Jam Miller. 16 yards on a perfect throw from Milroe. Touchdown, Alabama again.
Boy, you could not have thrown a better throw than Jalen Milroe had. It was a little wheel route as Jam Miller went all the way across the formation, man-to-man coverage versus C.J. Allen, the linebacker. It was perfect coverage, but the ball placed right where it needed to be, and a heck of a job of concentrating by Jam Miller.
Beck will come up to the line of scrimmage and change the play. Boy, is this place loud. He'll swing it out left side. Picked off, Bama. Brought down inside the 25, but Bama jumps the route, gets the pick. A takeaway by Damani Jackson, and the Tide will try to add to its 14-0 lead early. Justice Haynes to the left side of Milroe. Bringing a man in motion, he will hand it off. Bernard trying to get to the edge, does. 5-4, 3-2-1, touchdown, Alabama. 7 yards on the touchdown run from Jeremy Bernard. And the Tides turning back the clock here early to 2008 in Athens. D-Square. How hyped are you right now, my man?
Man, I'm so hyped. 21 points in the first quarter of this football game, man. I knew we were going to get after these guys, but, man, this is big time, man. Hopefully we can keep this thing going.
That was asking you that question is like asking a 5-year-old if he's ready for Christmas morning, man. I knew the answer. If you're just joining us, where the heck have you been? It's 21-0 Alabama with the lead.
Damian knows better than anyone. The term finish around here has meant so much for so many years. This football team has to reharness that and make sure they're locked in for the entire 4 quarters.
So here we go from the pistol once again. Milroe will keep it himself. Big block by Miller. Jalen tiptoeing down the sideline. 20, 15, 10-5. Touchdown, Alabama. Wow, 36 yards. An amazing block from Jam Miller, knocking the helmet off the defender, Jalen Walker, the linebacker, and Alabama has jumped out to a 27-0 lead. Oh, mercy.
This is actually a read option by Jalen Milroe, and how quickly it took place was what's so impressive. You can really tell that number 4 is locked in here this evening.
12 straight completions for Jalen Milroe, dating back to that last game, tied for 5th most in school history. Tyler Watts, that is some great company he's part of.
Yeah, well, I'm not a part of that company. That's an incredible job by Jalen Milroe from a quarterback who can't throw the ball, has been awfully accurate here over the last several throws.
You still had one of the highest completion percentages ever for a ball game in Bama history, though. Beck with plenty of time. Fires, intercepted, picked off. Alabama, Jahad Campbell. He gets it inside the 30 and down to the 25. Bama defense takes it away as Campbell caught it, picked it off, taking it away from Beck and the Bulldogs, and Bama is knocking on the doghouse again.
And Jahad Campbell from inside the box retreats back into that zone coverage, knows exactly where the ball's covered, and actually this is just a poor throw by Carson Beck. He underthrew that, had no business doing it, but this is what the zone concepts do. You don't know where guys are coming from.
He'll have pressure coming, and he's going down. Deontay Lawson recording the sack for Alabama as Beck is brought down all the way back at the Bulldog 30.
Talk about changing up the looks there. And Damian, that time, we didn't bring more than they could block.
Exactly, man. This team came in this game struggling on third downs, and they continue to struggle on third downs tonight, man. The Tide is really applying pressure to these guys.
Butch Owens, our spotter, the best you could possibly imagine. 44-yard line. Carson Beck looking deep. He's got a man down there, but it is broken up. Malachi Moore almost got the pick. Had great coverage step for step. Red Morgan was there with him, and then it was the veteran Malachi who almost got the swipe.
He drifted from the middle of the field, recognizing the lofted pass. He knew he was about to intercept this for probably 10 to 15 steps. Took his eye on it at the last second.
Snap goes to Milrow, looking deep, looking for Williams. Has him there, batted into the air twice, juggled, made the catch, spins away from a man at the 20, spins away at the 15 and down to the 13-yard line. My goodness. Ryan Williams. They call him Hollywood. They may want to call him the Magic Man. Now you see him, now you don't.
Boy, talk about body control. Of keeping your center of gravity to where you could adjust to it, and his eyes stayed on the ball the entire time as it was bouncing up off of his hands.
Did you have any doubt, though, that he was going to come up with that football?
No, none. None whatsoever. I mean, we have seen so many great plays out of this young man early here in the season.
A month.
Yeah.
This is a big one from about 32 yards out from the far hash. Snap and spot are good. The kick is up, and the kick is good. So his first one in a Bama uniform is awfully important. Graham Nicholson, the Groza Award winner last year, 0 for 9 on third downs today. The Dogs getting the snap, the toss to the left side. Etienne trying to cut it back, strung out, back down on the turf again. Alabama getting the big play. Snap to Beck. Looking to his right, flushed, has to scramble. He's going to be brought down. Ball on the deck. Bama's got it. Bama with a takeaway defensively as Beck fumbled it, and Jamarian Latham comes up with a loose football for Alabama. Wow, Damian, heck of a play there.
Man, that was a big time play, man, by Quay Russaw. We rushed 5 right there. He lost contain for a second, got back on his track, got to the quarterback, and made a strip sack, man.
You got to bleed every second off of this clock.
Snap going to Milrow. Looking deep downfield, looking for Williams. Comes back, makes the catch, trying to split defenders. Makes them bang into each other. Stays on his feet, breaks a tackle. Scores, scores, scores. Ryan Williams, one play, 75 yards. 4 plus 2 equals 6. And Alabama regains the lead. 2 touchdowns in 2 plays from 2 teams. 2:18 still on the clock here in the 4th quarter. It ain't over, but dear Lord in heaven, I feel better than I did 30 seconds ago. Bama will go for 2. Jalen gets the snap, looks, fires, man there. Bernard makes the grab. It's good for 2, and Alabama makes it a 41-34 lead with 2:18 to go. Cut me, Nick. Cut me.
Now, I got to know, from Damian. This defense has got to make a stop for us.
No doubt, man. They got to stay alive here. I just touched a few of the guys and told them, man, there's still a lot of time left on this clock. You got to play disciplined football, and when you get a chance to take the ball away, which will present itself, you got to make it happen. Great players make big plays in big games.
And get a big gulp of whatever you need right now. We'll be back. 41-34. Alabama trying to hang on against Georgia.
That's a tall ask for any cornerback when you give a free release to a wide receiver.
And the reason you have to do that is?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I have no idea. I'd be up jamming them. If you're going to play man, jam them. Come on, somebody make a play.
Good night. This is month number 1 of the season. Beck looking, firing towards the end zone. That is
intercepted.
It's picked off. It's picked off. Intercepted. Alabama gets the pick. The interception is made by Brown. Alabama getting Xavier Brown with the interception, and the Crimson Tide takes it away with 43 seconds remaining. Good night. D-Square, how you doing, baby?
Hey, I'm doing great down here. That man thought he was going to pick on the freshman, and the freshman grew up right in front of his face, baby.
You went one too many times to the well, baby. You can't throw that too many times before the young freshman starts learning. He got beat on the first one, he broke up the second one, and now goes up and high points that ball against a taller defender and pulls it down for the interception. We needed one guy to make a play, and he did it.
Attaway 14.
I'm a little fired
You
up.
don't need to apologize to
fired up.
anybody. Decaf for you the rest of the night. Xavier Brown, the play of the game. Again, Bama in victory formation. Again, the snap. And will Georgia use the timeout? Nope, they're waving the white flag. The final 30 seconds are going to tick off. And once they do, let's get out of here. Alabama 41, Georgia 34. And in the first meeting of the year, Alabama comes out a winner 9 times out of the last 10. The dog with the most bite has been Big Al. Alabama a winner. 4-0 on the year as the 4th-ranked Tide hands the 2nd-ranked Bulldogs their first loss of the season. Strike up the band. No rings given away for this one. No confetti falling at Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium. But a big one, nonetheless, as the Tide rolls to a 41-34 victory over Georgia.
Hey, this is Kevin Riley, and you're watching Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR.
This is what being a NASCAR fan is all about.
Gets the win at Talladega.
Singular history and tradition. And triple-header playoffs action to ratchet up the stakes. Get your tickets now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
Well, Chris Stewart at the center of all the action during our booth cam highlights, and he joins us this week to preview not only what's coming up on Hey Coach and the Kalen DeBoer Show coming up tomorrow in Tuscaloosa, but a look back to the Georgia game, a look ahead to what's coming up between Alabama and Vanderbilt. Here's the voice of the Crimson Tide, Chris Stewart.
Everybody is still buzzing about Alabama's win against Georgia. Chris, Roll Tide, it was a very special Saturday at Saban Field.
Roll Tide, buddy. It really was. Rarely does something live up to the hype, and I thought this one did, with the way Alabama came out of the blocks, ready to go, took care of business early. Georgia played like Georgia in the second half, but Alabama's ability to continue to fight and stay in it, and then just like that, take the lead right back again. It was electric. It was exciting. It was nauseating for a moment. I could hear Larry Munson in my ear. There was indeed some nausea rolling through Tuscaloosa for a little while, but thankfully it only lasted about one play, and until it had to flip right back and you got to go on defense again. So special event, one that we will not soon forget. And yet, as I said on the broadcast more than once, Roger, and you were right there, maybe only the first of 3 matchups potentially this year between the two teams.
Well, fans watching this show just saw the booth cam highlights from this past week, and they're available, of course, on demand and all of our platforms. Are you okay from Tyler Watts' headset throw?
It was surprising. And what's so funny, this, the most mild-mannered guy, and then all of a sudden he wasn't. And you can see on the booth cam, me put the hand up. He thought I was going to high five him. I was just like, simmer down now, simmer down. He was, look, and those guys that have all worn that uniform have invested so much of themselves and still care so much that it is, for us to get to see them still care that much, is really cool. It really is. And I know Tyler, we haven't even discussed it, but I know him well enough to know it was the emotion, the excitement of the moment. As a guy who cares very much about being a great teammate and broadcaster, he is probably a little ticked at himself for talking over the call, because we've discussed that from a radio standpoint, that we as play-by-play guys aren't more important than color guys, sideline reporter, broadcast host. It's just that if people can't hear clearly what we're saying, there's no context to what their comments happen to be. And somebody jumping in while we're doing play-by-play is the equivalent of somebody walking in front of the television when you're trying to watch the game. And he knows that. And it wasn't bad. It really did add to the moment, I think, as I went back and listened. But there was probably a little frustration with himself just for that, because of the kind of guy he is. So you mix all those things together. I'm surprised the headset survived, will still work, and did that night. And man, there were so many moments for us, as friends and fellow broadcasters, that we'll remember, that are part of the whole experience. But the game itself is what matters most. And thank goodness that one turned out the way it did.
It certainly did. So, I mean, just outright euphoria all throughout Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium, what we felt in the booth. And I'm curious to hear what it was like interacting with Kalen DeBoer after his first SEC game. You've talked before about how steady, how consistent he is. How was he post-game when you did the television show and the radio interview?
He was candid about it, being happy and being special. But I wasn't surprised, but I do continue to be amazed at how he is able to be this. It's not down here. He's here. It's steady. It's normally upbeat, but it's very steady. We did get a glimpse, though. He can go like that real quick. Just ask the guys in stripes. And he was speaking for all of us, even though he was speaking, if we read lips correctly, far more politely than most of us would have in that situation. He simply said, "Are you kidding me?" a couple of times, where there would have probably been some other words between "are you" and "kidding me" from others if we had the ear of the official at that time. He kept it probably rated G rather than PG even. So it was interesting. It was fun, frankly, for me to see him just explode. Sorry, he had to, because it meant a call went against us, or a couple of them had. That when you go back and look, here's why I think there was so much emotion. It was probably 30-7 when a non-pass interference, when a pass interference call could have been made and wasn't. And I know there's a million calls that can be made in the game, But I'm saying why the emotion is what it is. You have too much respect for Georgia to think that game is over when it's 30-7 or when it's 28-0 or whatever time it happened to come. And you've got to continue to keep scoring, continue to have momentum, continue to make plays, first downs, all of those things. And when a call is made or not made that either extends a drive for Georgia or doesn't allow your drive to continue, there's frustration because you're going to need that. And that's how it turned out to be. I mean, that's a one possession back and forth game that if you get one of those calls earlier, it may not get to that point. It might be a blowout. I mean, think about this. How have you ever, Roger, in your broadcasting career or just your life as a fan, seen a team go for it on fourth down 3 times in a drive in the third quarter? It's one thing when it's at the end of the game, but if your name's not Lane Kiffin, have you ever seen a team go? Because that's what they do.
Not with a shorter
Lane's
field
philosophy
too.
is.
Yeah,
short field. They had to go all chips in, and if they don't keep things going right there, that game was going to be over right there in the third quarter. But to Georgia's credit, they kept it going. But it's why Kalen DeBoer showed the energy, the excitement, the level of ticked offness. I will invent that phrase right there, that he did. But other than those moments, steady she goes, baby. Steady as she goes.
Well, it's really needed right now for the Crimson Tide. You even mentioned this in your pregame interview with Coach DeBoer, leaving the Georgia game behind and moving on to what's coming up Saturday in Nashville against the Vanderbilt Commodores. It will be a challenge for the Crimson Tide to get that refocused this week. But the good news is, Chris, a lot of it already started on Sunday right after the ball game when they got back to the practice field.
Yeah, no question. They go back and they walk through and clean up the mistakes as best you can. They talk about the mistakes anyway. And you're right. I mean, this is not the typical Vandy team. They can give you some problems. At a minimum, make you look bad if you don't play well. At worst, pull the stunner of the year and one of the biggest wins in Vandy history if they were to actually pull off the upset in this thing. And they are talented enough, capable enough, well coached enough. Clark Lee's done a really good job with them. They should have beaten Missouri. Now, obviously, I think Alabama's better than Mizzou, but that was a top 10 team. It's on the road, and Vandy had them and just couldn't finish the thing off. So they've gotten a week to take a deep breath, or an extra couple of days to take a deep breath and get ready for Alabama, and they'll be prepared. Clark Lee and Kalen DeBoer know each other. They back in their I think their D3 coaching days cross paths a couple of times, and they know each other pretty well, and a lot of respect on both sides, hopefully, as is normally the case there in Nashville. It'll look like a Bama home game because our fans will find more tickets and a way to get in there and pack that place and have a good time in the Music City. But what matters most will be between the lines, and very hopeful that they'll come out with the type start. I'm not saying 28-0, but the type of start out of the gate that puts you in a good position and doesn't look like you're sleepwalking through the early stages to give Vanderbilt hope going through that contest.
Yeah, before we let you go, tell us about your Clark Lee connection.
Goes way back and not tight by any stretch, but it was 2001. I was doing the play-by-play for Birmingham Southern College. I did the basketball and baseball play-by-play, and the baseball team under Brian Shoup had earned a spot in the NAIA World Series in Lewiston, Idaho, and Clark was he redshirted that year, but traveled. I think he was catcher for the team and the program. So he's got the same national championship ring that I do from the 01 NAIA World Series. And ironically, he left there to go, I think, to either Belmont or to Lipscomb. he went to a Nashville school. I know that. I think it was Belmont.
Belmont, I believe. Yeah.
And then was there maybe a year, then went played D3, and I think he played D3 football. And that's where he really got it. He'd been a great athlete in high school, but got back involved with the college game and coaching, wound up at Notre Dame, and then becomes the head coach at Vanderbilt. So hey, here we are both in the SEC. That's kind of a cool thing. He's with all due respect, and I love Jim Carabin. Clark's paycheck's a little different now, but he's also, I will say this, he's got a much tougher job than I do as well. It's
You play in front of more fans.
Yeah, I do. And I don't have to figure out how to beat Alabama. I just got to figure out how to broadcast Alabama games, and that's a much easier task.
There you go. Well, Chris, we look forward to what's coming up later this week. Hey, Coach, and the Kalen DeBoer Show on Wednesday, and of course our game day coverage on Saturday in Nashville. Just thank you for your time. I look forward to another great week. Roll Tide.
Always, brother. Roll Tide.
My name is Jalil Hurley, and you're watching Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR.
The NASCAR playoffs at Talladega are finally here. NASCAR is headed to the high banks of Talladega this weekend for what's set to be a 3-race weekend for the record books. Don't miss out on this once-in-a-lifetime experience. Lock in your tickets for this epic weekend now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com. Well, the Crimson Tide hitting the road to Nashville coming up this weekend. So for our Alabama legend, we really wanted to have a guest join us that lived in Nashville, that was a former Crimson Tide football player, and just the perfect guest. Preston Dial for this week, a tight end for the Crimson Tide that was a national champion with Alabama back in 2009. He joins us to give us the lay of the land in Nashville, getting ready for the Crimson Tide this weekend.
Preston, Roll Tide. How's everything going?
Roll Tide, brother. Roll Tide. Everything's going great. Up here in Nashville, a lot of buzz already. You think the Beatles are coming to town, especially after the big win Saturday, which is always cool. And I've got a ton of Bama alum that live up here with me, so we're fired up. We're going to make the most out of Saturday.
That's really good to see. And tell us, first of all, about Nashville. How'd you get there after growing up in Mobile, coming here to school in Tuscaloosa, and then getting to the Music City?
Yeah, anybody that knows me well knows that I'm very proud to be from Lower Alabama. Proud Mobile boy. My family's still down there. My mom and dad. My sister's actually in Birmingham. But yeah, it's a tale as old as time. Senior year, met a beautiful woman at the University of Alabama. She was finishing up her degree. My wife Olivia, and we actually were kind of Candace Rosencrantz used to work for Coach and worked heavily on the recruiting side at Alabama. She kind of played matchmaker, and so that was a long time ago. That was 2010. Anyways, when I was concluded playing ball and I knew I was done, I chased her up here, and I've been here ever since. We've got 3 kiddos, 8. My daughter turned 5 yesterday, and a 1-year-old boy. So I've got boy, girl, boy. Love it in Nashville. Miss Mobile, but it's been good to us.
That's certainly good. Let's go back a little bit before your freshman year. The decision to sign with Alabama. Just walk me through your recruitment, some of the different options you had, and what made the Crimson Tide win out.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was talking to somebody. I played for Coach Terry Curtis at UMS Wright, who's had a lot of success. One of the winningest coaches in history. But he's an Auburn guy, never really ever pushed me in one direction. He more wanted to make sure I was going to, commit to a program, commit to a coaching staff that would invest in me. I was fortunate to get some other opportunities. Actually, Alabama was one of my later ones, but I actually ran into a left-handed quarterback at Nike camp in Tallahassee, Florida, named Tim Tebow. So we ended up doing a couple camps together, became buddies, and I was fully ready to commit to the Florida State before I had an offer from University of Alabama. I'd kind of just assumed that maybe I wasn't going to get an offer for them, so I was ready to commit to Florida State. My high school coach slowed me down, said maybe let's slow it down, let's see how it all plays out. I actually crossed paths with Coach Ozzie Newsome and a lot of people. Obviously, I grew up a diehard Alabama fan, so I was just waiting on the opportunity, and so I had some people that really invested in me that told me to kind of hang tight and let's see how this works out. Obviously, I I got an offer from Alabama probably in July, right before my senior year. I committed in August. I knew I wanted to, as soon as I had the opportunity, I wanted to stay there. I wanted to see it through. So, of course, I'm there 6 months. Coach Shula gets fired. The program kind of gets turned over on its head. But thankfully, after patiently waiting for a few months, Coach Saban came in, and the rest was history. But yeah, I mean, I grew up. Growing up in Alabama, you got to pick, and my family was diehard Alabama. So to be able to live that dream out, it was pretty special.
You mentioned Coach Saban comes in. How did you see him kind of take control of this program from the moment he got in Tuscaloosa? How did he get you guys on the right track, even in that first year?
We all loved Coach Shula, but it was more of I now know it was more of an NFL style. Everybody was responsible to handle their own responsibilities, and Coach Saban is very much that way too. But Coach Saban seemed to understand better than anybody in the world, obviously, that when you're dealing with 18 to 23-year-old kids, you got to be hands-on. And so it was very much a micromanagement style. It was very much him trying to make us understand that we needed to take ownership of this program, of this process. And so, he just came in, and it wasn't a whole lot of, warm and fuzzies. It was more like, here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to do it. And then obviously it was kind of a year process, because throughout that 2007 year, we had so many close games that we just, slipped up, Louisiana Monroe and some of these games that were very, very close games, and we just couldn't get it done. And I think that whole year we quickly realized that, his way, that we were bought in, but not 100%. And so I think going into that 2008 year, we just said, whatever he says, whatever he does, whatever the team does, whatever, and we held each other accountable. And we just, with Coach Saban's help, we were sick and tired of losing, but we figured out how to do something about it. And it wasn't talking about championships. It was talking about conducting yourself as a champion each and every single day. And that was the big difference. That was the big difference, is going in there on a Thursday, which is kind of during the season, it's kind of a brush up day, a feel good day, make sure everything's installed correctly, but it's not a very physical day. There's still opportunities to improve, and there's still opportunities to get better. And that was the biggest thing. And then, right around the time that we started understanding that, and, following him in every sense of the word, then he turns the program over to us, and it's, the peer group and holding guys accountable to go to class, to be what they're supposed to be, to do what they're supposed to do. And basically the peer group was an extension of the captains of the team, and it was just a leadership role. And it was really, really cool looking back to see us young men learn how to lead. And obviously we had to learn how to follow first, but it was, taking ownership and understanding that, without being egotistical, that it was us and our actions that controlled our fate, not whoever we were playing. So that was the biggest part of the transition. But yeah, Coach, there wasn't the lovey-dovey guy you see on Saturdays. There wasn't a whole lot of that at first. We had to earn that. We saw a little bit of it later on in my career, but yeah, he came in and he had a purpose, and he was strictly business.
Led to a lot of success for Alabama, including you being part of that 2009 national championship team. I co-host a show on Monday nights with Corey Reamer, one of your good buddies and teammates, and he had this question for you. Please tell us the story of your first catch in an Alabama uniform.
Yeah, we talked about this recently. Corey and John Parker and I and some of our good friends and some diehard alum, we went to the Wisconsin game, played golf for a couple of days. But yeah, I came back up. So my first catch was against Louisiana Monroe. We had, I was lucky to learn behind Travis McCall and Nick Walker. So I had some pretty good, blue collar type guys to learn behind. Something happened to Travis, and I had to go in. And it was a third down. And of course, John Parker's just cool as the other side of the pillow in the huddle. Everybody's glad to have me in there, and I'm shaking like a leaf. Well, I didn't know I was going to be playing in that game. Thankfully, I knew where my helmet was, but I was playing a little bit of special teams. That was about it. But yeah, I had a dip in and a big one. And so as Travis came running off screaming my name, I just threw the helmet on and went out there. And of course, I was a decoy route to get DJ Hall open. Of course, the corner and the safety both go with DJ. Here I am 25 yards downfield, and John Parker throws me a strike. Of course, being a freshman, a little nervous, I made it look a little harder than it was. But as I got tackled, I hit my head pretty good, and tobacco goes everywhere. And yeah, they had a pretty good laugh with it. But yeah, if I had it made for a funny story later on. But if I could tell anything for the young guys on that sideline, always be ready, because you never know when your number's gonna be called. But yeah, it was. Yeah, I spent the rest of that drive with my eyes burning and trying to get it out in my little towel on my waistband. But yeah, it was a good time. And Corey and John Parker and Mike Johnson and all those boys, they had a good time with that one.
Did Coach Saban have a good time with it? Did he notice what happened either on the field or in film?
No, I think he caught a little bit of wind, and we talked about it a year later about not being prepared for the opportunity when it presents itself. I just kind of said, yes, sir. We kept it moving.
That's certainly good. I mentioned you were part of that '09 national championship team. I mean, so many fans just love the games from that season, whether it's Tennessee, Auburn, the Florida game, and the SEC championship game, and obviously Texas in the Rose Bowl, the national championship game. What was your favorite moment? Does anything really stand out from those thrilling moments we had in that '09 undefeated season?
But, there's a couple. But the biggest, I'll start by saying the biggest was the SEC championship. It was kind of like, we got to face an incredible Florida team in '08. Came up short. A good team came back and beat us. They handled their business better than we did, and we were this close. I would argue that even after the Utah loss, which was tough in '08, we were still the second best team in the country that year. I firmly believe that. So, but you got to win those games, and we didn't. So we had the opportunity to come back the next year and do that. And it's the best week of practice I've ever seen a football team have. Flying around, intensely focused, intensely disciplined, listening, adjusting. Nobody had an ego. We just wanted to win, and we were willing to do. We had full faith in the coaching staff. Coach McElwain came out. If you go back and look at that game, a lot of that game, I'm at wide receiver, and Julio's at the slot. Our coaches were so prepared as what they were going to do, and that they were going to take the linebacker out there with me. They weren't going to sacrifice a corner or safety on a tight end out wide. So they took the linebacker with me. It was just so many things like that. Defensively, we knew certain motions pre-snap were automatic blitzes, and we had it dialed in. I mean, it was just one of the best weeks of practice game planning I've ever seen. So that's number one. There's a couple more though. Obviously the Auburn game was a dogfight. Anybody that saw me on the field in '09, it was because I was in front of Mark England. I was lead blocking for Mark. That was my job, and I took extreme pride in it, along with my pigs up front, all five of the O linemen, everybody that subbed in. Myself, Colin Peake, Mike Williams, Brad Smelly. We prided ourselves in the little role we played in the success of that offense, and trying to make sure that Mark and Trent and even Eddie, when he was in, that we had an opportunity to do so. And Auburn was one of those games where we had to figure it out. We didn't have a whole lot of success, but we stayed positive. And when the opportunity presented itself late in the game, we were able to capitalize on it. But yeah, I got so many. You think about the Virginia Tech game, to come out on such a hot note and to play so well and to execute so well week one was incredible. Ole Miss, it was always a dogfight, especially back then. Corey had an incredible game. We had 4 minutes left to go in the game. We have the ball. It's a pretty close game, and we just ran. They couldn't stop us. We just ran the ball and imposed our will. It was incredible. But yeah, the Tennessee game, I was talking to some Georgia fans before last week, when they got by Kentucky, and, in the SEC, especially now with some of the new additions, you're going to have a survival game. And ours was Tennessee. They game planned well for us, and thanks to our great defense, thanks to a couple timely opportunities and some good special teams play, we were able to sneak by, and the rest was history. But yeah, it was incredible. Obviously, Texas was a dogfight, and I'm glad there's that was a beast in its own. And obviously the Marcel Darris with Colt and all that stuff was, and their comeback late in the game. It's just hard to keep a lead, as we now know after the Georgia game. It's hard to maintain that type of lead when you're trying to milk the clock and all that. It's you got one team that's playing guarded, one team that's firing at will. It's tough. So I was proud that we were able to finish the drill and finish undefeated. But yeah, if I had to pick one going back, that SC championship was pretty special.
Really special, of course. You played as well in the 2010 team. What can you tell the fans about what you've been up to since your playing days came to an end?
Yeah, so was able to have an incredible career at Alabama. Obviously, would have loved to run it back to the SEC. As we all know, there's some good teams out there, including a pretty good one just down the road in Auburn that year. So we faced some good opponents, and when you're Alabama, you get everybody's best. So it wasn't the finish I wanted, but man, I was proud of our team and proud of what we were able to accomplish. Chased my wife up here to Nashville. Started working at GBT Realty, and we do ground up development, build a lot of shopping centers. And man, that's what I've been doing every day. And I tell you, not a day goes by in the business world that I don't quote Coach Saban or talk to my kids about Coach Saban and my teammates and kind of the Coach Saban in 2010. We were about to play one of the games, and it was a night game, so we were doing a little walk around the hotel earlier in the day, and I used to always bounce this ball, and it had little keywords on it, focus, intensity, communicate, and it was just one of those little things that I'd always do before a game. And Coach Saban came up to me, and he explained to me how much football was a microcosm of life. Obviously, I didn't understand it at the time, but here I am, a decade and a half later, and he couldn't be more correct. One thing Coach Saban used to always talk about was capability gap. And the capability gap is what you're doing versus what you're truly capable of doing. If you were to commit yourself 100% to a common goal with your teammates. And so the capability gap is something I talk to my kids about, I talk to my coworkers about. But man, I'm staying busy. Obviously, like I showed you earlier, I had a little minor injury, little minor calf injury, chasing my wife and some of my good friends around on the tennis court. One thing I learned about Alabama is, idle time is a devil's playground. So I try to stay as busy as possible, as active as possible, try to set a good example for our kids. And we, anybody that remembers my career, I had a lot more passion than I had probably talent. But I try to use that every single day, and man, it's been great. It's not always easy as a dad. Some days are harder than others, but we give 110%. I've got an incredible teammate, my wife Olivia, and my kiddos are wide open just like I am. So we have a lot of fun. We stay busy, man. We're just enjoying the ride.
Sounds like a good time at the Dial household. You going to the game coming up on Saturday?
I am. Of course, in typical fashion, I was able to contact one of my good friends over at the football program. So I got a few tickets. I'm going to take my two oldest and my wife. My wife's 100% in charge of the logistics of what tailgates we're going to, where we're going. But I can assure you, I'm going to be in that stadium at kickoff. And in 2007, we played Vanderbilt here, and it was a rainy game. We had actually a lightning delay, if I remember correctly. But man, it's always fun going back in that stadium and kind of reliving those days. But the whole city of Nashville is excited and honored to have the Crimson Tide coming to town. Me being one of them, I'm fired up.
Can't wait to be there. Preston Dial, thank you so much for the time you've given us this week on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. We look forward to seeing you not only in Nashville this weekend, but down the road as well. Just thank you, buddy. Roll Tide.
Roger, roll Tide, brother. Thanks for having me.
Friends, check out Game Day Done Right, because there's one thing we can really all agree on. No one wants to be the last one left at a tailgate at the end of the game, having to do all the cleanup, all the breakdown while their friends are out celebrating. If you've been in this situation before, you know the true value in what the team at Game Day Done Right provides. They handle the entire process for you, from setup to breakdown. Stellar customer service on game days to make sure your group is taken care of from start to finish. All you have to do is visit GameDayDoneRight.com, reserve your tailgate package, and let their team take it from there. A lot of fun with Crimson Tide Rewind as, again, we put a final stamp on the Georgia win, and now we're starting to get in Vanderbilt game mode, getting ready for this upcoming Saturday. A lot of programming on the network to get you prepared for that ball game and everything else going on around Alabama athletics. Here's a look at our upcoming schedule. Coming up tomorrow, make sure you're at Baumhower's in Tuscaloosa for Hey Coach and the Kalen DeBoer Show starting at 6 p.m. Should be a real fun edition of the show, as not only Kalen DeBoer will be alongside Chris Stewart, but also Jihad Campbell from the Crimson Tide football team will be along as well. Thursday, we'll be back with Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, streaming live at 2 o'clock for a full preview of Alabama against Vanderbilt. Catch the latest news on the Crimson Tide, really around all sports, with Tide TV this week on our TV affiliates across the state coming up Friday, as well as RolledTide.com and Alabama Athletics YouTube page. Then Saturday, it will be Alabama against Vanderbilt. Noon will be our radio airtime, leading you up to kickoff at 3:15 between the Crimson Tide and the Vanderbilt Commodores. Sunday, a great tradition, catching up on the Coaches Show, the Kalen DeBoer television show, as he and Chris Stewart will break down Alabama's game against Vanderbilt. And then, just like you saw a moment ago, Be Kind Crimson Tide Rewind, we will have a new edition of Crimson Tide Rewind headed your way at 6 p.m. on Monday night from Baumhower's Victory Grill in Vestavia Hills in the Birmingham area. Make sure you follow us on all of our social media platforms to stay up to date with the latest on Crimson Tide athletics, plus interview clips from Crimson Drive, booth cam highlights still coming out thanks to our friends at Alabama. Just so much content available if you follow us on social media, and especially when you're watching here, especially on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel for the absolute latest on the Alabama Crimson Tide. That's going to wrap up this edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Huge thank you to all the guests we've had, starting with Kevin Riley and then Chris Stewart and Preston Dial. We appreciate their time. Thanks as well to Ethan Carabin. He puts the entire show together, make sure it streams properly. We appreciate his work not only with this show, but also with the booth cam highlights from this past Saturday. Thanks to all of you for watching as well. For everybody with Crimson Tide Sports Network, I'm Roger Hoover here with you in Tuscaloosa. We look forward to seeing you back on this show coming up Thursday at 2 o'clock. That's Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Have a great start to your week. Roll Tide, everyone.